Today I'm going to talk about Colombia's National Bilingualism Program or PMB. This initiative, launched in 2004 by the Minister of Education, aims to improve English teaching and learning across the country. I'll briefly explain its main goals, some achievements, the challenges it has faced, and what lies ahead. The PMB focuses on teacher training curriculum updates. Despite progress challenges remain like unequal access and the need for better teacher preparation. Beyond language, the program promotes inclusion and global readiness. It aligns with international standards like the CEFR and targets all education levels. However, understanding its process and challenges is key to improving bilingual education in Colombia. To meet its goals, the PMB uses strategies like teacher training, educational resources, assessment, and English proficiency tests. It also works with partners like the British Council, US Embassy, universities, and the private sector support these actions. Here you can find the key actions to improve English teaching in Colombia. They include teacher evaluations, national standards and language policy, teacher training and support for institutions through resources and programs. This slide highlights the main aspects of the PMB on the positive side. It has improved English levels and boosted economic opportunities. However, it has also reinforced some educational inequalities, especially for marginalized groups. In fact, institutions like ECDX have supported these goals through cultural programs. This slide highlights the negative effects of the PMB. It shows how focusing mainly on the English can marginalize indigenous languages and threaten Colombia's multicultural identity. Other issues include limited teacher training in rural areas and the risk of reinforcing social and educational inequalities. To wrap up, the PMB has helped improve English levels and global opportunities for Colombia. However, it still faces challenges like limited access in rural areas and neglect of indigenous languages. For real progress, bilingualism must be redefined to include Colombia's multicultural and multilingual identity.
Hello, everyone. I'm Livia Rocha. Now that we've reviewed the origins and goals of the National Bilingual Program in Colombia, I'll begin Model 2, which critically explore its flaws and gaps. While the program aimed to improve English proficiency and promote global competitiveness, it also led to linguistic and cultural displacement, often prioritizing English at the expense of Colombia's indigenous languages. This is especially concerning in a country with 65 officially recognized native languages. The model highlights several issues: inequality between urban and rural schools, underqualified teachers in rural areas, and a lack of inclusion of indigenous communities in the policy framework. Recent statistics show that 40% of urban students reach B1 in English, compared to only 15% in rural areas. And while 75% of certified bilingual teachers are in the cities, the rural schools are often left behind. There's also no real connection between the National Bilingual Program and the Law 1381, which protects indigenous languages. This creates a contradiction between promoting English and preserving Colombia's multicultural identity. To reflect on better practices, the model compares Colombia with New Zealand, where Maori is preserved through community based education and culturally inclusive teacher training. This comparison urges us to rethink bilingualism, not just as a learning English, but as an embracing Colombia's full linguistic and cultural diversity. Thank you so much. And now I'll hand it over to my partner Joanna, who will continue with the next part of the presentation. Goodbye.
Thank you, Livia. Hi, everyone. As you can see here in this page, you can find some charts that are comparing the incorporation of the language outside of school and, on the other hand, support infrastructure and technology. In each of them, we can find some key factors that Colombia policies can take into account to improve the proficiency not only in English but also in this root languages. For sure, we have to compare also the evaluation in these two policies. The main difference is that in Colombia we have a standardized test, but on the contrary, in New Zealand they don't have. They are evaluating the proficiency because of the use of the language in daily life. Once the limitations about the national program are identified and the comparison between the New Zealand system about Maori's language, we have over here in our book some proposed upgrades that can be considered to improve our policy. So in each category, you can find what is the current issue and what is the proposed upgrade that we can consider to enhance those categories. Other important aspects to analyze in this policy and improve are the recognition of linguistic rights and the multilingual public policies. In addition, we have also the cultural plurality and widening urban rural disparities. For sure, in this era, the inclusion and equity can be a part. So, in this part of the book, we can find some proposed upgrades in this context for a trilingual policy reform. Inspired by New Zealand, Colombia can truly value indigenous languages. How can we do it? We need bold community driven solutions. So that means that in cities, we must go beyond English and Spanish by adopting plurilingual approach. Urban schools could include indigenous languages in the curriculum, helping students appreciate Colombia's multicultural roots. We also favor funding, redirecting just 20% of bilingual education resources to rural areas will allow us to hire local bilingual teachers and provide cultural relevant materials. Finally, let's give indigenous regions more autonomy with local control over bilingual programs. This is how we build just, inclusive, and truly multilingual Colombia. The main reflection about this program is that since it was created, it was focused always on English Spanish proficiency to boost global competitiveness. While it helped improve English skills, it failed to reflect our country's rich linguistic and cultural diversity, including over 65 indigenous languages. Today, we must redefine our language policy. It's time to embrace plurilingualism and treat indigenous languages not as symbolic, but as an essential to our national identity and education. This is about equity, inclusion, and using language education as a tool for social justice, not just economic gain. Moving forward means fully implement some policies to protect and revitalize indigenous languages and reforming teacher training and curricula so every child, rural, urban, indigenous, receives a quality bilingual education rooted in their